Welcome back. We have had nothing but amazingness in the studio today, and so we're just going to carry on with that trend. Joining me on the couch today, I have none other than the amazing Kreskin, Mr. Kreskin.
Just Kreskin.
Just
you
Kreskin.
Get used to the handshake. You know, if you get to see the movie The Great Buck Howard, and you folks can get it on the internet now. Tom Hanks produced it, and his son played my road manager in the movie, but it was written by a former road manager of mine, and all the scenes in it really happened, except the private. I did not treat women the way I do in the movie. They say, Chris, we just had to spice it up for that. But all the scenes really took place. So John Malkovich plays me, and Tom Hanks produced it. So, and when it opened on Broadway 5 years ago, Hanks, they kept sending me the script to see was it accurate the way. So Hanks hugged me and said, quietly said, thanks for making it possible that we were able to do this. And he said, you know, I want to tell you the good part and the bad part about making the movie. I'm thinking, this is not recorded. I said, bad. He says, the good part is that John Malkovich, Kreskin, he said he watched days and days of videos, whether you were on Carson or Jimmy Fallon or what have you. He wanted to see your mannerisms and so forth. I said, yeah. He said, the second thing is, I said, yes. He said, John Malkovich, so help me, Kreskin, he says, for 3 days, shook hands with about 30 people a day the way you do.
So
30,
they could do
every day. He says, we were going out of our minds. He said he wanted to get the handshake down. And Regis in the movie, Regis Philbin says, I've done 105 shows with Regis. He said, shaking hands with Kreskin is the dream of every chiropractor on the face of the earth. But it's the way I shake hands.
Well, I'm quite
can't
honored.
Control it.
I gotta tell you.
But it's, you know, this is like, Canada's my second home. I mean, I told, you know, tonight I'm at the Algonquin, which is in, is it Huntsville?
It is in Huntsville, yes.
Yeah. And then tomorrow, I got to tell you the name because it's called the Charlie W. Stocky in Parry Sound.
In Parry Sound. You heard it here first, folks.
2.5 hour, I'm on stage about 2 hours and 35 minutes. And because it's Halloween and I celebrate Halloween every year, we're going to have tonight and tomorrow night, you folks that are coming, we're going to have a ghost sighting. When I did this off-Broadway a few years ago around Halloween, one lady flew out of the theater and ran 2 blocks down Broadway. They came and brought her back to me, and we're getting rid of the ghosts and everything else. This is not going to happen. Those of you who are afraid of things like that, just stay in the audience. If you volunteer on stage, we're sealing the doors because it's unlike something that people have ever seen before. You're giving
me goosebumps.
I love Halloween.
Halloween is a lot of fun. As you can see, we love it here too.
Look at that. Look at by the way, I have to compliment you. And since this is not going to be edited, they guaranteed
it's live.
No, I have to compliment the crew here. The people that you have, it reflects the show. They're flaky, but they're good people. And those are the only interesting people. At my home, my pictures of my people on the wall are like that. Because those are the only interesting people. And you know, if we can't laugh at ourselves today, I have a sign in my office. It says, if anybody ever calls me politically correct, kick me in the ass. Because Seinfeld,
right in the bum.
As some of you may know, Seinfeld has decided he made this public 3 or 4 months ago. He's not going to perform in universities anymore.
Oh, no.
And it's a very interesting thing because he's a wonderful comedian.
He is.
Because now in the United States, they're starting to edit and censor what a performer can joke about and so forth. And in the Second World War, people were joking about Hitler as a creep. Jack Benny did a movie in which a guy was playing Hitler. If we can't laugh at ourselves, we're in trouble.
Hey, I couldn't agree more with you, Kreskin. I'm a huge fan of laughing at myself. Yeah. I usually try to do it here right on live TV, so I think that could be fun.
I think what's remarkable about your crew here, not just the folks that work the show, but the rest of because of the flavor I see, it's remarkable that everybody here is usually sober. But the poor people, they're going to have explanations to give when they get home to their people, huh?
I bet they are. Now, just for the record, we are always sober when we're on this show. The amazing Kreskin, talk to me a little bit about your journey. I've got something here that says the Leafs are going to need some help with their mental game.
I can tell you how this happened. The press here in Canada, some of the sports press, they've been telling me, do I gather that the Leafs have not had a great winning streak for a number of years. Is that true? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't, but that's what they all tell me. Like, not for how long?
Too long?
Yeah.
Let's go with decades. Too long. Can I give that answer?
So they said to me, people don't know about this in my life because I'm performing most of the time, and the airline industry announced a little over a year ago, I've now flown a little over 3 million miles.
Wow.
I'm on the road most of the time, and but I love my work. But I worked with some Olympic athletes, marksmen and others, and a gal just this past year, a boxer, a female boxer. Now, I dated a gal whose father trained boxers, but in all the years I dated Gail, he never explained it in any great detail. But this manager came to me and said, Heather Harding, do you think you could work with her? Now, I don't mean giving her more strength. That's for the physical trainers to do and what have you. And I worked with her for a number of months, and she finally, and I trained her so that when she was boxing, because when your jaws hit, your brain bounces, and let's not play games. It's a football is now showing damage done to people because of impacts and what have you. Anyway, I trained her so that she was able, in watching, and boxing is a stressful match, it's 1-to-1, anticipate the blow from the opponent just as a moment he's about to even move his arm, so she was so alert. Well, the big fight was in New York off Broadway, and they brought me in the ring at the end for about 15 minutes because she won the international championship.
Wow.
And she talked at some length about the work with her. So as a result of that, you know, the sports people said, could you do something with the
Toronto Maple Leafs?
Maple Leafs. I would have to work with them as a group.
Yes.
Because hockey is not an individual sport. I would have to see them 4, 5, or 6 times for about 45 minutes each time over a period of once a week to train their minds so that they're with all the pressures. And you got another pressure. You have a curse. Now, I don't mean superstition-wise, but when you have a long period of a streak that has not been successful, that
it's in
is
the mind.
Part of your mind.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
That's part of your mind. So I'd have to work, and I'd like to give it a shot. I really would. It'd be interesting. And
I think it would be. Do you believe that you could turn it around?
There's a good chance I could. I would know by the second time with them. But if I told you, there's other parts of my career which we wouldn't have time to go into now, but the television people are wanting to do something about this. I have in my career worked on 84 crime cases.
Wow.
Just 3 weeks ago at a performance, I was at a television studio. A retired policeman came to me and wants me to work with him on a murder case because when he was 8 years old, his mother was murdered.
Oh.
And so my career has been, and my performances are my life, but people don't know the other side of me. You know?
Ebbs and flows.
It came over a period of many years, my career, the evolution of my performing.
Sure.
Because you were going to ask me probably how this all evolved and what happened. You know?
Well, that would seem like the standard thing to ask, wouldn't it?
I knew what when I was in 9th grade, I was 9 years old, I can make this real quick, in 3rd grade. It was raining outside, and Miss Curtis, my teacher, said, I'm not going to have you go out and play. Jane Hamilton, go into the hallway and close the door of the class. So the 25 of us or what have you, we hid a beanbag in one of the desks or what have you. She told us to do that. So Jane comes in, and she says, Jane, I'm going to teach you a game. You walk around, your classmates, when you're getting near the beanbag, will say you're getting warm. When you're not near it, you're getting cold. Or what? If you're real near it, you're getting hot. And we were telling her you're getting hot when she found the beanbag. And I was disappointed I didn't get to play. And I went home. My brother was 3 years younger. We went to my grandparents' house. My grandparents were from Sicily. They didn't speak much English. I loved them dearly. And the house they built themselves. They rented the downstairs. I gave my brother Joe a penny. I said, hide it upstairs. He called me. He called me to come up. He had hidden it. I walked up into my old-fashioned kitchen. My grandmother didn't know what was going on. I meandered to Michael's bedroom. I walked up into the room, and I walked to a chair and climbed up on the chair and found myself reaching behind a curtain rod, and I felt the penny. And then it dawned on me. I forgot to tell my brother to talk to me. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't even talk to him. And this got around the family, and in 4th and 6th grade, my grade school, because this was not a magic act. I started as a magician, what have you, but this is not something where I took a mind reading act and so forth. By the way, it's been announced now, and it's not fair to the performers, but it's been announced by 2 professionals on television. People wonder about what I do and the imitation of what I do. They said all over the place, magicians are now using electronic devices to fake mind reading acts, and a professional on camera nodded his head and said, Kreskin, they're doing it. They're destroying an area of magic.
Wow.
Fine. So, but I do not use gimmicks and what have you. And as a result of that effect right there, in all my performances, tonight in Huntsville, tomorrow in Paris, I will turn my check over to my audience. I will leave the theater under guard. And last year at your Toronto fair that was outdoors, and in 19 days I did 29 shows.
Wow.
We had a few thousand in the audience. They took me into a trailer and closed the doors. The check is hidden. When they call me, I come back to the stage. No one talks to me. I ask no questions. If I don't find my fee, I return it to the people who hired me in the shows for free.
My goodness. I
failed only at 6,000 times, only 9 times.
Well, that's good.
In New Zealand, it's been written about all over the world. I lost in one night $51,000.
That was a bad night,
The money was
eh?
turned over to a crippled children's hospital. They named a wing after me. And every time I go back to New Zealand, I visit there and say, the night I lost my fee, I could have used the hospital.
I guess you could have.
My work is exciting to me.
Yeah, I bet
it's like an adventure. One drama critic in Pittsburgh who came to review a show. I was going to be there for 2 weeks. He didn't review it the first night, and we thought, well, he was in the front row. Third day in the newspaper, he had come to the first night. He came to the matinee, and then that night he says, watching the check test, he says, it's like I'm going to review a mystery play, but it's different every night. Because the audience, one night I found my check at a university. I've done over 1,000 university shows in this country and Canada. I got a man in the audience in a suit come up on the stage, open his jacket. He was a plainclothesman. I don't fool around with guns. I'm not... I would never do this, Ray. I took the gun out of his holster, turned the barrel towards me. They had taken tweezers and stuffed the check.
My goodness, Kreskin, that sounds like an incredible story. We're going to come right back. Don't you go anywhere.
I'm going to do something with you.
We're going to do something great. Welcome back. Joining me, I've got the Amazing Kreskin, and we are getting right into some a
mind thought transference. The viewers, you're going to try this as well. I'm going to ask you right now, and trust me, to close your eyes and keep them closed so folks, at all of you there, before the program began, and who's the gal that I handed someone in the lobby, she works here, a deck of blue back cards. Now her eyes are closed. I said to her, give me a playing card. She took the deck herself. She handed me a card, which I'm just going to play. The rest of you can see a close-up. You can see the color of what the deck is. She handed me a card, and she's the only one that did this. There's not a person in this place here who has any idea of what happened. I'm going to ask you now to open your eyes. You have no idea what happened or what have you, except that one of your gals, she gave me, forgive me, I'm not mentioning her name now, I can't think of, she took a blue back deck and said, here, use this card, and that's the card I used.
Okay.
Now, I want all of you at home to try this, and I'm going to ask you to look at the monitor over there.
All right.
I'm going to, you watch the monitor. I'm going to sit forward if you want. I'm going to hold the cards up so you get a close-up of what I'm holding. Where do I hold it? You're getting closer, 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 so that you can see every single card.
All right.
Now watch the monitor, and folks at home as well. As I show you these cards, think of one of the cards you see, but you must see the card. You cannot see the other sides of the card. I mean, I know which one. Have you thought of one of the cards? Have you thought of one?
I have.
All right. We can move a little weight away now. Tell us the name of the card you thought of.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah,
it was the Queen of Hearts.
Let me show you. And by the way, some of you who may have seen me in Toronto yesterday will be amused about this. Hold your hand palm upward. Hand palm upward. Let me put the card there. She handed me a card from a blue back deck before we started. And these cards here, are red back cards. You can see I'm showing this red back of these cards right here. This is a red back deck of cards. You could have handed me any of these cards, but you thought of the Queen of Hearts. Turn over the card and show the audience what the show. Turn it over. Look at what you had. Now I will tell you something. If anybody saw this in Toronto, Canada, this is exactly the card I used yesterday. You both got. Isn't that interesting?
How is that possible?
And by the way, I will tell you, a few thousand people got the same card, because when I did this in New York on Fox Television on a Sunday, a gentleman in England was watching and did it and got the card and booked me in Boston, Massachusetts. But isn't that interesting how you got the card?
It's interesting how we all choose the same one.
Now I can use any card, but it's interesting. I decided for 2 days in a row I'm going to use the Queen of Hearts. That's what I'm going to be. You got to mention.
So you are going to be playing tonight at the Algonquin Theater up in Huntsville.
If I'm sober.
If you're sober, I suspect you will be. So you'll be playing tonight in Huntsville at the Algonquin Theater, and we can expect you tomorrow at the Charles with Stokey in Perry Sound.
And then we're going to have a ghost sighting there. And by the way, I'll be projecting thoughts, but at the same time, I got to tell you folks, thank God I didn't read publicly the thoughts of everyone on this crew. Oh, my God.
Oh, I want to know. I want to know.
Take care now.
The Amazing Kreskin.
Pleasure to be here.
We've still got a few seconds, so can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
1 minute quickly. One of your favorite minds that you've dug into. Let's hear it. Or if you want, you can tell us what Gavin's thinking here in the studio.
Well, one of the most interesting people is a man who's a legend, and they're now repeating in the United States the shows he did. He really made The Tonight Show. Was Johnny Carson. He's become, everyone in showbiz, students in college, they tell us about Carson. I did 88 shows with him.
Wow.
And someday we're making a possible special. There are 4 shows I did with him. While I was on the air with him, went to a commercial break, he motioned me and said, come over here, pulled a chair out from under his table, and we sat under his table on the set. And none of the audience, his crew, never knew what he wanted me to show him. And he had me do it 6 different times. And his producer, who knew him all those years, finally, before he died, said, Kreskin, tell me what happened. I'm going to now show this someday on television. So my stories are almost mystical, because it seems like someday I'll talk to you about the 5.5 years touring Saudi Arabia, and how I came downstairs in the lobby, and the place was empty. They told me to come downstairs. There was nobody there. Thousands from all over the world. And they had me sit down with someone. I didn't find out 2 years later that there was no one in the hotel. They'd emptied it of all workers, and 2,000 people. And I was sitting with the princess of the king of Saudi Arabia.